Hello, everyone. I am Derek from Derek's Comics. I just wanted to take a little bit of time out so that I could put a little bit of the face to the voice. I am a performer, as I've mentioned, if anybody missed my intro videos. I was a performer most of my life, mostly voiceover, done some motion capture, stunt work, educating choreography, lots of different little things. But in terms of anything that you might have seen any of my work from, well, not seen but heard, or played, it would be my voiceover work in gaming. Most notably would be my work in Star Wars Knights of the Republic 1 and 2. Did some voiceover work as Twi'leks and Rodians in both Nar Shaddaa and Onderon. Kabadupa mi kabarumba shaba sakupa. um, Kabakuta sibakarondo shibakutu. But other than that, I also did some voiceover work for Fallout 4 New London, if anyone is familiar with Fallout 4 New London. Um, I have also done some voiceover work for Skyrim, both human characters, Khajiit characters, and Argonian alike. I've done a little bit of voiceover work for like fighting games, mostly like Hadouken type sounds and like hits and taking hits. But that's most of like anything that's in terms of mainstream larger games that anybody might be familiar with. If anybody has any like fun questions or anything for me, always feel free to ask me. I am a performer with autism. It's one reason voiceover work and motion capture were always a big draw to me, is that I wouldn't have to be seen on camera, which is, again, what can make even doing this very difficult. This is a newer thing for me, sharing myself with people. I've always enjoyed being able to hide in plain sight as characters, where I could be loved that way, instead of feeling more kind of like a freak as myself. So if I struggle with my eye contact or with any type of communication, or if I tangent off, which happens a lot, please understand that it's just something that is difficult for me and I'm still making strides with. I'm finally excited, though, to start with my first bigger project here for Derek's Comics. If anybody has been following along with any of my videos or content so far, my first big project is showing off my Robin collection, which isn't completely done, but I will have pretty much the rest of what I need by the summertime, which we will still be going over it by the time we reach to the summertime, as I'll cover roughly a book or so once a week. Reason why I wanted to start around now was that Dick Grayson, the first Robin, and my beloved Dick Grayson, his birthday, usually roughly debated as March 20th or March 21st, is coming up here this week. Now, when I've built my Robin collection, which the reason why I did it 52 books was I have this fun formatted theory that I'm working on about getting newer people who are not already big comic readers into comics, or people who want to educate themselves more on a character. I've roughly felt that most people who are not heavy comic book readers will read roughly about one average size trade paperback size book per week. So I figured by, 52 weeks in a year, I could build these curated collections on a character that would cover most of the meat and key points in their lives chronologically, from Crisis on Infinite Earth to Dawn of DC, which is the era that I am most familiar with and have followed throughout my life. And but I figured, one per week is a good average. So if I built these 52 book collections and slowly went through them, it would take roughly about a year, for people who, if they wanted to buy and collect them and read through them. And it would pretty much cover most of the meat and bones of the character. And then obviously a lot of these characters have had so much writing done for them that I will never ever have all of it. But I've always felt like I've done a good job, TV shows, movies, everything, with being able to find specific key points. Like I've always been good for my friends and other people at building like filler guides for TV and other things, for knowing like which points are the most key points and transitional points that you need to know of growth and development and chapters like of a character's story throughout their entire content that's been written or developed about them. Now, my Robin collection is my Pride and Joy that I have so far. I'll go over a little bit of like the reasoning of the books of why we're going through these ones. The first one we're going to be covering, which will be releasing today in just a few hours, is going to be Frank Miller's Batman Year One, which is one that a lot of people are familiar with. There's going to be a couple books that are mostly just Batman early on, because to tell a legitimate Robin chronological story, you still do need to see very early on Bruce Wayne and Batman and to see why he needed. I mean, obviously to build the foundations of the Bat world, but really because you need to see him pre Robin to see why and really understand why he needed Robin, like why they both needed each other. Um, but basically, over these next couple days before and leading up to the 21st, which is what I'm going to be doing as his birthday, which is when I'll be showing my favorite comic of my entire collection, whether people can make fun of me about it or not. It's a pretty small one, it's a little one-off one. But basically, covering the pre-part of Robin, we're going to have Batman Year One, which is Batman's post-crisis origin story by Frank Miller. Batman Haunted Night, which are some fun anthology-typed, Halloween-type stories that take place in between Batman's first year and Batman The Long Halloween, which will come after. The Long Halloween is an awesome, amazing story that will go all the way through one full calendar year, pretty much, covering a holiday killer. And then we move into Batman Dark Victory, which is the sequel for Batman Long Halloween. Now, all of this pretty much takes place in the first, I would say, 2-ish years or so of Batman's time becoming Batman in Batman Year One, and I would say like maybe the first 2 to maybe 3 years of time of when he was Batman. The very end of Dark Victory being when he finds Dick Grayson after Dick Grayson's parents are murdered, and him bringing Dick Grayson in and adopting him into his life and having him slowly becoming Robin. Now, the one that I'll be showing off on the 21st, which really starts the real Robin part, where Batman now becomes more of a supporting character after this in my collection, which is my favorite one, which is Batman Batman Chronicles The Gauntlet, which is a small one-off story which I absolutely love. Which basically, I love the art for it, I love the writing for it, which we will go into and cover it. But basically, I love just the concept and the idea of the story. It pretty much takes place the very last initiation night of Dick Grayson becoming Robin, like his final test and challenge. He pretty much is being let loose into Gotham, basically being chased sort of by Batman. Like he sort of has to play like hide and seek and survive like a whole night with Batman coming like after him sort of him and following him around. And the whole time, he's Dick Grayson, so he can't help but be distracted by criminals and other things going on and him having to jump in and try to help. So he's doing what he does best, while also like trying to elude Batman as well. Now, basically after the Gauntlet story, we're going to move into Robin Year One, and that's when it really starts to take off. That's Chuck Dixon's, who is one of my favorite Robin writers of all time, basically doing a fun, modern, more modern, rebooted take of Robin's first early years and adventures as Robin in his first year. After that, other people can start to go in different directions with what they want. I personally chose these 3 books that were basically based off of the Batman animated series. They're the Batman and Robin Adventures. The reason why I chose that was because I love Batman the Animated Series. Batman the Animated Series, the Spider-Man 90s cartoon, the X-Men 90s cartoon, all of the Superman 90s, like all of these were the things that got me into superheroes in the first place and were my first really big influences in doing voiceover work. And I mean, I was right at the age when I discovered that Mark Hamill, because I grew up as just the hugest Star Wars fan in the entire world. Pretty much growing up in Western New York, I would go to Wegmans, our grocery store, in the 90s, and we would have VHS rentals. And I would literally just go back and forth renting Star Wars Empire Strikes Back or Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which is still, to me, one of the greatest animated films of all time. And Mark Hamill's performance as the Joker in that is really what truly inspired me. And it was when I came on around that age of like 6 to 8, like when you have more complex thoughts and you're not just like a child anymore, where I didn't just realize this is a cartoon. I realized this is Luke Skywalker, the human being in a booth somewhere, and he's making these voices and saying these lines that are chilling my spine up and down and just moving me so much and affecting me so deeply, and it have still affected me so deeply to this day into who I am. And he was getting paid. It was a job, and that's when it really started to click to me. And then shortly after, it was like Frank Azaria with The Simpsons, Futurama, a lot more comedy stuff happening with like Adult Swim and animated series like that. All of those things are what really pushed me more into like wanting to be into voiceover work. But it was those early 90s cartoons with Mark Hamill as the Joker and his voice as Hobgoblin and Spider-Man. Like and so many other, and Kevin Conroy, and just so many tremendous voiceover performers. But it was those shows that got me into comics, and very specifically made me fall in love with like the Robin character. Because I wasn't really a big like Batman fan. Like I was a child, so I related to Robin. I had been through a lot of loss in my life, and I had very serious father issues, and craved like that type of fatherhood and mentor. And I also had a lot of like anger and didn't know where to put it when I was a child. So Robin was a character that I really, 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 really related to and fell in love with. Same thing with like Peter Parker as Spider-Man. But in terms of DC related, Robin was really probably the person I related to the most. The Flash more as I got older. In terms of characters I related to, especially like Wally West when he became more of like a younger Flash, I definitely during my high school and adolescent years really related to that. But the Batman and Robin adventure ones are more art and stories that are based off of the universe of Batman the Animated Series, and I really like those as filling up the meat and bones. Just like when you want just some meaty filling of adventure stories of Robin in his prime, because then after that. I do eventually want to get the Batman Second Chances full trade paperback. It's hard to find for not an arm and a leg cost. To start filling in the Jason Todd section. So what I have instead is I have 3 individual single comics, the 408, the 410, and I believe 416 or whatever, which is basically the first appearance of Jason Todd when he, was stealing hubcaps and everything and making Bruce laugh. And Bruce takes him in after Dick gets shot, and he sort of like shuns him away and says like, you're not going to be Robin anymore. And then I have, the first Teen Titans book, because Dick has then gone in away and goes and joins and forms up with the Teen Titans, and then in between, and then right after that we go back to the 410 of Batman Adventures, because that's the first issue where Jason Todd finishes his grueling months of training and gets his Robin outfit for the first time. And we jump back, and then you have the Judas Contract book, which pretty much covers an amazing Teen Titan story, which also is when Nightwing is finally born. From Dick Grayson's character. So then after that I have 416, which is the first time Nightwing is shown back in the Batman comics when he rescues and saves Jason Todd, who is a little bit over his head. I also eventually would like to get Batman the Cult story, which is just a tremendous and, in my opinion, Jason Todd in his prime. Like, that's when you can really see Jason Todd being Robin before everyone was like, let's kill him. Because then we have Batman Death in the Family, which is just such a huge, crucial story, because Jason Todd's most important role in the Batman world really is his death. It was he needed to come in, go have Batman treat him the way that he treated him, and die as sort of this overcorrection so that he could find more of this perfect balance of mentoringship when Tim Drake comes along. Because then Tim Drake comes along in Chuck Dixon's original trilogy, done for Robin, which was like one of the first amazing big chunk meaty series runs that was just about Robin, and that came out right when I was born. And again, like, Tim Drake was a character I really connected with, being someone myself who personally is very sexually and genderly fluid. The Tim Drake character was one of the first ones to be that way. And sorry, that was one of my cats. No. I really connected a lot with Tim Drake for a lot of those reasons, and because he was such a huge fan, like, of Robin. That's how he became Robin. It was something I felt like we could really relate and connect to as readers. why a lot of people fell in love with Tim Drake in the first place, even though Dick Grayson is so awesome. It's because Tim Drake literally became Robin from just obsessing over Batman and Robin so much, like we do, that he was like, I have to figure out who they are. It was like if they were real. If they were real, we would be Tim Drake. We would not stop until we became Robin. And he loves the Robin and what it means to be Robin, the character, the title, the mantle, even more so than Dick. Dick is his own full character, fledged character, which Tim is becoming more so now himself, but he is Robin in my opinion. Tim, like Dick and Tim will always be Robin, the two greatest Robins to me. Jason has his reasons for being there, in his role, and why he needed to live and die and have what happened, but Dick will always be the one true Robin because he was the first. You can't ever replace that, and he needed to go through what he needed to go through in order for Batman to become who he is, and be able to then train the other Robins the way that he was able to. Specifically, Tim. Tim wouldn't be the Robin that he is if Dick didn't go through what he went through, and but Tim is just, he's the best detective out of all of them. He's not the best fighter. He brought so much more complexity and emotional dimensions to the character that didn't start to happen with Dick Grayson until more writers started like really pushing that envelope with his character as Nightwing and adding that as well. Then we move more over into like the Young Justice, Teen Titan eras. This is a lot more jumping back and forth. Larger, obviously, crossover events like Identity Crisis, Infinite Crisis, and then we have, Batman and Son when Damian Wayne starts to come in, Final Crisis, then when Batman, dies but isn't really dead because he's lost in time. Then you have Battle of the Cowl when everybody's fighting over who's going to be the next Batman, which of course it's obviously, a spoiler alert, going to end up being Dick Grayson, because who else could it have possibly been other than Dick Grayson? And he has his time being that for a while, but then Flashpoint pretty much is what reset like all of the universe. And then Rebirth pretty much rebrought everything back, because like I pretty much skip all of New 52, because like I said, to me, I don't fuck with New 52. New 52 is a whole different universe. It's garbage to me. It ruined a perfect just timeline of stuff that has now finally reached a good closure ending, and all I can do is say thank God, thank whatever power for Rebirth, because Rebirth brought everything back in a way that like really did work. It worked, and then we were able to finally get our good closure points to where we are now, with Dark Crisis and the end of Tom Taylor's Nightwing 100, which really is now ushering us in a perfect transition point into our new Dawn of DC era. But yeah, we're going to be going over my 52 book collection. Like I said, one or two books or so like a week. We're obviously going to knock out all the Batman story ones up to Dark Victory over these next couple days. And then on Dick Grayson's birthday, we'll do the Gauntlet story. And then from then on, roughly once a week or so, we'll cover one or two books, or see Batman Adventures, the Batman and Robin Adventures. There's 3 of them. I'll probably do all 3 of them like in one book or one episode similar to that. But yeah, I really hope everyone's excited to follow me along as we go through my Robin collection. I'm very, very excited to finally show off one of my bigger, more curated collections, but also keep following along to our Spider Mondays, as well as our Dawn of DC comment. Again, I just want to one final time apologize for the delay on the Adventures of Superman Jonathan Kent series that has already started. My variant cover, because I went for a more fancier one that I really, 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 really wanted. They ran out during after I paid for my pre-orders, so it's back ordered, and has to get reshipped out to me, because my original one, when it was shipped to me, got damaged, I guess, on the way, and it didn't have more extra. But we're going to be right back on track with those. Upcoming over the next week or so, we'll have another Nightwing, another Superman, as well as some more Spider-Mans coming along. But I just really want to thank everyone who's been watching and hanging around so far and enjoying our content and sharing it or talking about it on any of their social medias or with any of their friends or family. I'm really enjoying finally sharing more of myself with people in the world. It's a struggle. It's a bit scary. And will continue to share more of myself throughout the episodes. But yeah, I really just wanted to put a face to the voice, so that so as you keep hearing my different weird, wacky voices as I do different episodes, I'm sure the wonder has been, to people who aren't already friends with me on any social media, is like, who is this crazy weirdo and what does he look like? This is me, a little shaggy right now, but we're in a big winter storm here in Western New York. But thank you all. I've been rambling on for too much and taking up too much of everybody's time. Really wanted this to be a little bit more quicker than that, but it is what it is. Like I said, communication isn't one of my strongest points, especially right on the nose. I do much better with a script, but I wanted this to be a little bit more genuine and personable with anybody who's watching or going to be continue watching. But yeah, please join us on our ride as we continue to share my Robin collection, and we're going to be starting with Frank Miller's Batman Year One later today. So join us. Should be in just a few hours. Take care.